buying a home. I mean, it's one of the most exciting things you'll ever do. But let's be real, it can also be incredibly stressful. You find that perfect place, you make the offer, and then suddenly everything is in the hands of the lender.
It can feel like this total black box, right? What are they even looking at? Is there some secret formula to get that big approved stamp? Well, the good news is it's not a secret and it's not really a formula. It's actually more like a checklist.
And today, we're going to walk through that exact checklist. We're calling it the lender's three-point inspection. First, we'll see how they qualify you, then the house, and finally the deal itself. By the time we're done, you'll know exactly what they're looking for.
All right, first things first. Point number 1 on that inspection checklist is you. Before a lender even thinks about the property, they need to be totally sure that you can actually handle the loan. They do this using some pretty straightforward math. No magic wands or crystal balls involved. They use 2 key numbers to get a quick picture of your financial situation, what they call the front ratio and the back ratio. Okay, so here's the difference, and it's super important. The front ratio looks only at your new house payment. That's your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, or PITI for short, and compares that to your gross income. But the back ratio, that takes your house payment, and then it adds all your other major monthly debts, think car payments, student loans, you name it, and compares that bigger total to your income. Lenders want to see you fit comfortably under both of those limits.
Let's put some real numbers to this to make it clear. Say you and your partner make a combined $96,000 a year. That breaks down to $8,000 a month. Well, using that standard 28% front ratio, the absolute maximum house payment a lender is going to approve is $2,240 a month. See? It's a simple calculation that tells them exactly what level of risk they're looking at.
But, income is just one side of the coin. The other side is your history with money. And all of that gets boiled down into one single, powerful number, your FICO score. This number is basically a prediction of how likely you are to pay back your loans. So what actually goes into that score? Well, take a look at this. The biggest piece of the pie, by far, is your payment history. This is huge. It's not about how much you make, it's just about whether you pay your bills on time, every time. That one habit has the single biggest impact on your score. So if you're even thinking about buying a house soon, you've got to be mindful of these things. Just one missed payment can mess with your score for a long time. Don't go opening a bunch of new store credit cards just for the discount. And here's one that gets a lot of people. Don't close your old credit card accounts. It feels like the right thing to do, but it actually shortens your credit history and can hurt your score. The name of the game is looking stable and reliable.
Okay, so the lender has given you a thumbs up. You've passed inspection point number 1. Now they move on to point number 2, the house itself. I mean, at the end of the day, the house is the asset that secures their loan, so they need to be sure it's a good investment.
When it comes to figuring out a property's value, appraisers have this great, easy-to-remember acronym, DUST. Is there demand for homes in that area? Does the house have utility? Can it be used for its intended purpose? How scarce is it? And can the ownership be easily transferred? If a house checks all those boxes, it's a much safer bet for everyone.
To get an official value, the lender hires a licensed, independent appraiser. Their only job is to provide an unbiased, expert opinion on what that home is actually worth in today's market. And this is so important because a lender will not loan you more money than the property is worth, period.
So how do they figure that out? Well, for most regular homes, the appraiser uses what's called the sales comparison approach. It's really logical. They just find at least 3 other homes in the neighborhood that are a lot like yours, they call them comps, that have sold recently. By comparing your potential new home to those, they can get a super reliable idea of its market value.
But what if the property is one of a kind? Like a really unique custom home, or even a church. In that case, they'll use the cost approach. They basically calculate what it would cost to build that exact same building from scratch right now, subtract any wear and tear, and then add in the value of the land it sits on. And finally, there's one more method, but you'd really only see this for investment properties. It's the income approach, and it values the property based on how much rental income it could generate. But for a typical home you're going to live in, you can bet they'll be using that sales comparison approach.
Okay, so let's recap. You've qualified. The house is qualified. We're in the home stretch. The third and final inspection point has nothing to do with your bank account or the home's curb appeal. This one is all about the legal paperwork and making sure the ownership can be transferred cleanly.
This is where the title company puts on its detective hat. They perform something called a title search, digging through all the public records tied to that property. They're on the hunt for any red flags: unpaid taxes, a lien from a contractor who didn't get paid, an old ownership dispute.
anything that could cloud the title and cause legal headaches for you and the lender down the road.
And all that detective work gets summarized in a document called a title commitment. Here's a super easy way to remember the parts. Just think A, B, C, D. Schedule A is for all the things the policy covers. Schedule B is for but, all the exceptions it won't cover. Schedule C lists things that must be cleared before you can close. And Schedule D is the disclosure of who the title officers are and how much it all costs.
So once you've passed inspection, the house has passed its inspection, and the title is squeaky clean, it is time to cross that finish line. It's time to bring it all to the closing table and make it official. Now that's the fancy, formal definition. The key word there is consummation. That's just a legal way of saying this is the moment the deal becomes real, the transaction is totally complete, and ownership officially changes hands.
At the closing table, you're going to sign a lot of papers. The seller signs the deed giving the property to you, you sign the loan documents promising to pay the bank back, the lender hands over the money, and then the best part of the whole process, you get the keys.
So when you step back and look at the whole thing, this process that seems so overwhelming, it really just boils down to these 3 simple checks. Number 1, the borrower. Question, can you afford this loan? Number 2, the property. Question, is the house worth the loan? And number 3, the title. Question, is the ownership clear to sell? That's it. That is the lender's entire game plan.
See, by understanding this framework, you can turn what feels like a really stressful process into something you can actually manage. It gives you the power to see things from their perspective and get yourself ready. So I want you to think about it for a second. Now that you know the playbook, which of these 3 points are you feeling the most prepared for right now?